Hello guys, today I want to have fun creating a very simple PHP MVC application, really starting from scratch and improvising as I go. So I'll go to local disk C and I'm gonna call this project, this folder, simple PHP without any preparations, without anything. Let's see how easy it is to create a simple MVC PHP project. So I'll start from the index PHP file, creating this one, and I'm gonna use Sublime Text or edit with Notepad++, or even a Notepad is gonna do the job. So PHP, and I'm gonna say here PHP info, just for fun like that. PHP info to see the PHP which I'm using. On this computer I have PHP installed through XAMPP and it's accessible everywhere. When I run this in the DOS prompt, of course on Linux machine it's enough to install only PHP and you're ready to go. I'm gonna use the built-in server, PHP server. So let me go to simple PHP. Let's make sure I'm in the proper folder, and I'm gonna say PHP minus server localhost, and I wanna run on 8888. It could be 9999, whatever. Let me launch my browser now. Localhost localhost 8888 started, and make sure everything works properly. Come on, it shouldn't take that long. Here we go. This is the built-in server. So, and this comes from PHP info. I first want to see the content of the magic global variable server, so I'm gonna decide what I'm gonna use, because what I want is to have URLs such as the name of the controller, which is gonna be index, the action index, eventually optional parameter 3, for example, or 4 or whatever, and I wanna, when the user types such URL, to instantiate controller with the name index and call the action with the name index action. And since this is my own MVC, very simple one, I'm the one to decide which folders I'm gonna use, how I'm gonna name the controllers, capital letters, small letters, whatever. Okay, so this probably is gonna be index, following the naming standards. Okay, so let me first print whatever I have here, print R. Let's see what we have here. Echo print. This is the, usually I use var dump as well, die, whatever. Okay, but this is very nice. This approach is very nice. Define variable server, yeah, of course, server, Control R, and voila. So to achieve my goal, actually I need to extract this, the name of the controller, the name of the action, and the IDE. Which of this keys can help me to do that? I guess this one. Okay, let's base it on this one. So I'm gonna say something like tokens. So I'm working right now on the router tokens equals explode, and I'm gonna use server like that, request URI. Let me trim that just for any case. Trim and explode. I should explode with / stream root. I will try without trimming as well. And let's print R, the tokens. The tokens, this way I'm gonna know the name of the controller, the name of the action, and the optional parameter. Refresh, voila! Okay, I have been able to take the name of the controller, the name of the action, and optional parameter. Well, let me create now the structure of my application. I'm not gonna follow the PSR or whatever, I just let my imagination run here. I'm gonna use, for example, a folder controllers. Okay, in these controllers I'm gonna put my controllers. I'm gonna use views, for example, in ASP.NET MVC they're plural, in Zen they're singular. This is with capital letter, this also is with capital letter, and since, as I said, I'm the master of my project, I will divert. I'm gonna use whatever I like. Controllers with small letters, views. Of course, for your domain logic you'll need models eventually, and for all common elements I believe I want to use a folder called libs, libraries, where my libraries will reside. Okay. Now the entire logic which I'm gonna put here in the index, after that I'm gonna copy and paste in a Bootstrap class. And since I want this to be very lightweight and very easy to use, I'm gonna use the constructors. So first let me create a controller actually. So the controller is gonna be called, oops, sorry about that, and the color should be called index, and I'm not gonna index capital letter since the controller is a class. PHP, okay, let me create it. PHP, as you can see, very easy, without effort, almost effortless. Class index and the landing page, or the first action, is gonna be public, oops, come on, public function index, small letters. I'm not gonna put anything here. Okay, so this is my class, and extends controller. So I'm gonna have one base controller which I will extend in each one of my individual controllers, where I'm gonna concentrate the functionality which is common for all controllers. And this functionality will be actually creating a view, instantiating a view, which I will use later to render my view scripts. So require once, and I'm gonna say, okay, what I'm gonna require is in my folder libs, controller PHP. Since I don't have it, let's create it. I'm in the controller. I'm just following the simple logic. Libs. I'm gonna create now this class which I'm gonna call controller. Come on, controller PHP. And by purpose, I'm not using NetBeans or whatever. I just don't want IntelliSense, code complete, whatever, just to see how easy, how simple and enjoyable is to create such things. So class controller. I don't pretend this to be the best approach, but I just have fun. Okay, controller, and I will say public function construct. Okay, so I have a constructor here, construct, and I'm gonna instantiate a view class. So I will need a view class. This way, this view equals new view. Okay, and since I'm using this, I'm not even using autoloader. Of course, autoloader will be added later if you have if you wanna go further and make further steps. I just wanna create the basic structure, and after that, this could be improved tremendously. So I'm gonna say require once, or only require once. View is gonna be in ellipse, and the object will reside in a view PHP file. So logically, I have to create now view, my view dot PHP. Okay, view PHP is gonna have a constructor, and is gonna have a method called render, which method is gonna be used by all of the controllers. And I'm not gonna call this method automatically. PHP class view, very simple, very easy. Again, public function construct. I guess I had to put 2 underscores. I'll check that. Construct, yeah, it's with 2 underscores in PHP. Construct. I hope I didn't use it anywhere else. We'll see that. View, and after that, as I said, okay, this will stay like that. Here I wanna do something probably in the constructor of the view. Here I want to have public function method render. In PHP 7 I can define the determined value, but I'm not even gonna use that. Render, and render will take one parameter, which is the name of the view script. So this is gonna be the name of the view script, and what we are gonna do here, once we have the name of the view script, actually what we can have here is only require once. Require and require once, they differ by the errors which they throw. Okay, require, and this is gonna be the view script, the name of the view script. That's it. Is that simple? Okay, controller. Now when I have all this, I actually can try to run this application. Controller index view this view. Okay, index extends controller, index action. In the index action I can say, for example, echo hello world from index controller index action. Okay, let's see if that works now. Index. Actually, we haven't done the things which are necessary for our application. We just did so-called router. Okay, this is our router. Now we need a dispatcher. Based on what we have here as the tokens, we can determine the name of the controller, the name of the action, eventually the parameters. So let's try to do that actually. Let's say now controller name, just for any case, let me do first, if I remember, I want to make the name of the controller the first letter tokens, the first letter capital. So I can search in internet for this. Capital first, to make the first letter capital. After that I have to check if the file exists. If the file doesn't exist, I will instantiate error controller and call index action of the error controller or something like that. I'm just imagining these things to happen this way. But let's say everything is fine. So in this case, I'm not sure this is the right function. I will check in internet if I have made a mistake. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna instantiate the controller equals new controller name. Let's try to instantiate this. Actually controller name is a variable, so let me try that, see if it works. Class index not found, class index not found, it's simple, blah 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 blah. Okay, of course this class cannot be found. I don't have autoloader, so I actually have to require first. Require, the definition doesn't exist. Require once. Where are my controllers? They're in controllers folder, and the controller name. This is what I have to require, even without autoloader. As you can see, this could work. PHP. We'll see now, but you can improve it a lot with autoloader and all this kind of stuff. Hello world from index controller action. Voila, it works. It's that simple, that easy. Okay, so let me comment all this. I don't need it anymore. So this is my dispatcher. It's quite simple, quite easy to be done. Controller name. Of course I have to add a little bit logic to check if the file exists, if the method which I'm gonna call, which is gonna play the role of the action, exists, and all this kind of stuff. But basically this is what it is. So R and router. This is what I'm gonna call a router, and this is my dispatcher. Okay, router and dispatcher. Of course, we will make the application much more complicated. Okay, let me create first the logic in the index PHP, and after that I will move it to the Bootstrap class, where I'm gonna encapsulate all this code, so it doesn't stay like that. It should be in a class according to the OP good practices, standards, whatever. Okay, once we have the controller, we can call controller. It's so easy in PHP. We have some kind of reflection for granted controller, and now we can call the action. Where we're gonna get the action from? Action, actually it's tokens number 2. We can say something like that. Action, and of course we can send as parameter the argument we got it from the URL, which is what? Tokens number 3. Tokens number 3 semicolon. Wow, that looks quite easy. Quite easy. Okay, let's try and see if that works now. Let me see, index controller. In hello world, index controller, echo public function index. Extends controller. Let me see this from index controller, index action. Ha! Indexed, extend controller, controller, view. What is that now? I'm surprised. I haven't even called the action, the method, and I'm getting this. Okay, so I'll figure this out. Token 3, of course, not 1. Here, controller new, controller, maybe some kind of a cache or something. Hello world, index controller, index action. Require once, controller, new controller name. Okay, so now, in fact, 2 times. It has been called 2 times. My index action has been called 2 times. There is something really weird going on here. Actually, index action is accepted as a index action actually is accepted as a constructor, and during the instantiation of index class, index action or index method has been called here, which is really strange to me, but let me try and see again. Wow, it shouldn't happen this way. At least I don't expect it to happen this way. Let me make one experiment. Action, class view not found is controller on line 9. Okay, controller 9, lips view PHP. Of course, should be like that. Controller view. Okay, now it's more like it. Index. And just to avoid this problem, I should append action to each one of the methods which I'm gonna use as actions. Okay, I didn't like that actually. Why? Why should I? Index is a class. Index, the first letter, is small here. So obviously it's not a constructor. This is not my intention. Let me try again. Here we go. It's called as an action. Okay. I'll just append action at the end, just for any case. And in this case, what I have to do now is action name. In this case, I'm gonna do this tokens 2, and I'm gonna concatenate action, and I could even do this just for any case, action name. Okay, this is the dispatcher. As I said, I just implemented a dispatcher, and I can have arguments here. I can call it this param1, index action param1, This is how I'm going to receive parameters. Action1, param1, or ID. I'll name it ID. Usually this is what happens. Okay, so let me see if that works now. Yes, it does. Okay. First, let's check for the file existence. I first will check for the controller, and if the controller exists, then we'll do all these things here. Action name, and if the file doesn't exist, we'll call error controller. We'll instantiate error controller, actually called error controller, which I'm gonna create, and this controller for sure will exist. Okay, so I'm gonna say if controller name, if file exists, require one, require once, if file exists, file exists. I'm doing everything as you can see, trying to remember the names of the commands and everything just for fun. Else what we are gonna do, then controller name PHP, controller new, if file exists, controller name PHP. Okay, if the file doesn't exist, we will instantiate another controller, which is gonna be error controller. In this case, we should have error controller dot php, which should be there anyway. Error controller, a new controller name, and the controller name should be error controller equals error, and we are gonna call the method index. This is gonna be our behavior in case there is no file, there is no such file. And we're gonna call the controller, and we're gonna call his method index action. Okay, phew. That's interesting. Index action, which means I have to create in the controllers. For example, I have to create error controller view burn simple. Probably we'll have here another class which I'm gonna call model, and this model is gonna be inherited, extended by our models. So before I forget, I'll create this as well, class model, and I will leave it empty like that. Okay, so view controller, let me go and create error. Simple PHP controller error. Yep. Error PHP. Of course, I can add the word controller as they do in Zend, for example, or whatever. PHP class error public function index action, and I'm gonna say, for example, this extends our controller, and we'll print something a message, something like um, let me first finish with that, and after that I will call this controller. We have to work a little bit on the view and the view scripts and all this kind of stuff. So index action, we can say, for example, now power box, we can say index action, okay, require, oops, sorry, we'll say this view equals the controller doesn't exist. The controller doesn't exist. Of course, this can be done with throw catch. We can think about that, but I'm looking right now for the basic, very basic structure. First, I'm trying to create the structure, this view, and after that I will say this view will call render, and I'll point to the views folder, error subfolder, and index PHTML file. This is what I would like to render. Now let's create this view. What is that now? Okay, let's create the folder views. Each controller will have a folder which is gonna correlate to his name, is gonna map his name, error, and inside I will have PHTML files which also will match the names of the actions. So I'm gonna call this index PHTML. In index PHTML I can use the value which has been set here. This view, of course there is no value, message. View message, I can call it error message or just message. Okay, let's leave it as message. And I can use it in my view. I can say, for example, here since we don't have a layout, we have to go through, and we don't have two steps view design pattern implemented. So each view should have the entire code for the HTML, but just for simplicity, doc type HTML. I'm not gonna do all the things which are necessary, probably. Doc type, of course, doc type HTML, and I'm gonna say HTML again, HTML, whatever you want to have here, head here, title, head. Since this is very simple, project body, I'll keep it as simple as possible. I'm not gonna implement the two-step design pattern right now. I'm gonna call it error, and here with big letters H1, I'm gonna use whatever I have sent into the controller. This is the way actually we pass the data from the controller to the view using directly the view object. The magic of PHP. And I'm gonna say this message, echo this message, PHP echo this message, and hopefully that works. Okay, so if there is no such controller, if I made a mistake, will we print the message? Okay, still okay. Index W, let's say, Fata class controller not found. Controller not found, an error on PHP 4. Of course, here I have to take care of require. As I said, I don't even use the auto loading. Require once. Very simple, very simple things. Oops. Controller dot php, controller php. Okay, so let me refresh again. The controller doesn't exist. Okay, let's go to an existing controller, and this message comes from the controller, which is against our rules. Controller should just prepare the data and pass it to the view. So what we're gonna do here is we'll set this message. We'll say this. You understand that the view in the controller constructor, I'm instantiating an object from class view, and after that I'm setting it. I'm creating a field which is called view. This is the magic of PHP. I have a property called view, which contains actually the object view, and after that, using view object, again using the magic of PHP, I can say okay, those are called dynamic properties. For example, in other technologies, I will say message equals hello world blah blah. Now all I have to do is just render the proper view, render the proper view script. Since I still don't have view scripts created here, the folder with the view scripts for this controller, I'm gonna go back and create one folder which correlates to the index controller. I'm gonna call it index. Inside I'm gonna put all the views which correlate or map the actions, and here I'm gonna do index. Okay, so this view actually is gonna be rendered by the index action, and I'm gonna open it, copy from the index.html the information, put it here, index text, of course, not text, index.html, PHTML, open it again. See how easy it is with PHP to create a structured framework, because what I'm doing right now here is a framework. Index action from index controller. Of course, we are far from complete controller, but still, it's very easy. Okay, we have separation of concern now. Controllers, models as well. We can create models if we like. It just happened that the index action of the error controller and the index view script and the index view script are very similar, but I changed the text. As I said, we can implement double-step design pattern. In other words, have a layout which holds all the common elements for different actions, for different pages. But I'm not gonna do that. I just wanna keep it very simple. As you can see, we created a structure for our application we have architecture, which is great, and this architecture is MVC. It's extremely simple, transparent, easy for PHP. This index PHP, of course, could be put in a separate folder which is called public, and view, models, libs, controllers should be outside of this folder, which is served by Apache, so the application will be extremely safe. Right now it isn't, because everybody who knows the structure could go with the URL and access the folder. But as I said, this is just a very basic thing, just to get started, just to scratch the surface. Okay, but I just want to show how easy it is. Views error index PHP, and I'm gonna do something like in index controller. What I have to do is view index, the folder index. In the folder index, in our views, we have all the view scripts which correlate to the actions of our controller. Eventually we could use the IDE. Let me actually concatenate the IDE. Let me use it, IDE, so we'll see how that works as well. And all these elements, as I said, can be made more complicated. There are a little bit things more which we have to add. Now let me make sure that everything works, and after that, hello world from index controller, index action 4. Let me change this to 5, and voila, we change it to 5. Let me change it to 6. Voila, it changes to 6. As I said, index PHP, it's very easy to be moved in another folder, public HTML, and Apache should serve only public HTML. But this needs a little bit more work. The basic things we have already. The next thing which I'm gonna do is this ugly code which I have in index PHP. I will extract it and encapsulate this in a class. Okay, so let's call this class application or Bootstrap. I'm gonna call it in this case Bootstrap. The lib contains all the files which are common for our application. I'll call it Bootstrap in this case, and I'm not even bothered to create a separate method. I'm just gonna create a constructor PHP and put all this code which I'm extracting from index here in the Bootstrap. Oops, sorry about that. Index PHP. Okay, I'm gonna cut this code, and in order to have it, I will say require once. It's quite simple, it's absolutely easy. Libs Bootstrap, just require this file to load the file with definition of the class Bootstrap, and after that I'm gonna instantiate it. I will say just new Bootstrap. I don't even have to do more. Bootstrap could be called application app or something, and after that I can encapsulate all this in application start. Bootstrap could take care of the environment because this is its purpose, so the application could use the Bootstrap, but I just will keep it that simple. Okay, so PHP class Bootstrap, class Bootstrap. Hopefully I didn't make any errors, and I'll say public function underscore construct. It's extremely simple to create such thing in PHP, as you can see. Okay, let me put it here. Here it is, the code. and let's make sure everything works. So my code is well organized. There is a separation of concern. It's dispersed through different classes which organize different layers, logical layers in my application, which is just beautiful, and I know what to do, and how easy it is to change. The cost of change is low for this application. Let me make sure this works. It doesn't, so let's see where the problem is. New Bootstrap. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake here. New Bootstrap. Bootstrap class. Bootstrap construct, of course. Come on. Construct. Here we go. A syntax error. But as you can see, even without sophisticated IDE, integrated development environment, without code assist, without IntelliSense, you can create beautiful things, very easy and simple, almost with bare hands. Okay, 8. I like that. I like that. To be left in the wild and survive. Okay, hello world from index controller, index action. Just to show that everything works, I will create another controller. So how we are gonna continue with our application? Very simple. Now let's say we want to add more functionality. We go to the controllers. We say here hello, and I almost wanted to add controller, but I'm not gonna do that. And as I said, we have to follow PSR 2, PSR 7 for request and response object. PSR means pretty standard, really. No, I'm kidding. No, it means PHP PSR standard request. PSR PHP standard request. PHP class hello, and I'm gonna define an action which is called index again, the landing page, public function index action. It could accept, for example, formal parameters, and here I can do something like instantiating of a model, for example, connecting to the database. By the way, connection to the database should go in our model PHP. We of course can work with interfaces as well. We can create interfaces, but since this is very simple, I'm not gonna do even that. It's our application is with blazing speed. It's extremely fast. Of course, the fastest would be if I put everything in one file, but in this case we won't have a good separation of concern. Okay, index, of course, index ID, and if I want to pass something to the view, I just say view. I decide which key to use or property or field name. I will call this again message or whatever, just hello. I can call it hello. I will say here hello world, and this of course could be a result of calculations, communication with database, whatever. Hello world from hello controller index action. That's simple, and after that I decide which view script to use. This view render cannot be simpler than that, I guess. View render, and okay, let me use a single quotation marks instead of double quotation mark. That for PHP is better, because otherwise it's gonna look into the string for finding variables to replace. Okay, and I'm gonna say this is in views in the correlated folder, which is hello folder index.phhtml. Since I don't have such folder, let's go and create it. Views hello. I don't know guys about you, but I have a lot of fun doing that. Hello, and I'm doing it with, as I said, bare hands. Let's say you have only V in your disposal in a Linux machine and only PHP. As you can see, you can start developing very simple, very easy, but your application has architecture, has structure, which of course can be improved a lot, but still it's a very, very good beginning. HTML, everything is separated in different classes. It's really a good way to start. Okay, hello Bootstrap index.html. I'm gonna copy this and paste it here again. Index action. Sorry, my monitor went black for some reason. I'm gonna bring it back now. Okay, index action. This is not index action from hello controller. It's very easy now having this structure. Hello. Now let's call the hello. Call to indefinite method hello index action. Hello. Okay, so let's see. Let's check what's going on here in the Bootstrap controllers. It should be hello. Hello. Index function index action. Of course, I forgot index action. Let me see if this solves the problem. Creating development from empty value. See hello on line 7. Throws hello line 7. If it is this view hello, of course require I have to extend. I forgot to extend controller. Require once libs controller, as I said, autoloader, which is very easy to create. I didn't do it by purpose. HTML. Oops, PHP only. PHP. Okay, so let me try now. Undefined property view message. Hello, of course. Of course, in the PHTML, just for fun, I just changed this key. This is hello now. And voila, it works. Hello world from hello controller index action. Okay, let me show you the structure again of the application and all the files which I have created on the fly just in front of you. Index. Very simple file. Required once lib bootstrap PHP new bootstrap. Just for simplicity, I put everything into the constructor of bootstrap. Bootstrap again, it contains in the constructor the router and the dispatcher, and that's all. These two mechanisms, of course, can be separated in a different classes with different methods and can be made very complicated, but this is a good start. Of course, there are a lot of other checks we have to do. Okay, so Bootstrap. Once we get to the Bootstrap tokenizes the URL, decides what the name of the controller, what's the name of the action which needs to be called, requires the controller, instantiates one object, and calls its action. Of course, we have to set here the default action. If tokens2 for example is not set, we can do something like if tokens2 is set as far as I remember, without underscore probably. If is not set, of course, if it's set tokens, okay, do this, else okay, do this. Of course, we know already. We already know what the controller is, so this is not a question. The controller will be instantiated, else, and this way we can make it a little bit more complicated, but as I said, there is a separation of concern, very good structure beginning, which is interesting. If there is no talking to, in this case we just have to call index action without parameters, I believe, of the controller. So in other words, this is the default action, the default action of each controller. This can be done here when we tokenize the input. We have to decide on how to separate this logic. Okay, so let me try again. Let's say I don't specify index 9, missing argument 1 for hello index. Yeah, we have to make it optional. This parameter in the separate here we'll say 0, and we won't have any troubles anymore. Warning message will go away. In index action, hello, or index, we specify index. We can send optional parameter undefined offset 3 in simple blah blah. Of course, we have to check this as well here in the Bootstrap. Tokens 3. Tokens 3 is not defined, so we can solve this issue as well. Action name with another if, for example. This is what came to my mind right now. If is set. If is set, of course there is more intelligent ways to do it. If is set tokens 3, then do this, and I'm gonna put curly brackets, just a good practice, else without parameter. I'm gonna call the function without sending any arguments. Okay, a lot of use cases which we can take care of, but still everything fits almost in one screen. At least the Bootstrap is a little bit not very well done, but if I remove this part, of course all the logic will fit in one screen, which is quite simple. Index action, this is the default action, no arguments. Okay, let's try with index. I'm gonna remove this. Missing argument 1, undefined variable ID. Of course, we have to make this index PHP optional. 0. Let's see if this solves the issues. Yes, it does. So quite simple, quite easy, but at the same time powerful. We have structure of our application, we have everything what is necessary for a good start, architecture of our application. Okay, let's see how much time did I spend. 1 hour. So for 1 hour, actually, in 1 hour, you can start with a structured PHP application which follows the MVC design pattern or paradigm. There are a lot of things to be done, but at least is a good start. Let me see here. I have more things probably to say. Let me see what I have done here. I have done it for students. No, nothing else. Okay, in the models, I just wanted to say that in the models, this is the place for your entities. For example, user.php, which is gonna model something from the real world. You create here class called user, you add properties, you say public, for example, name, you create another one public, oh no, this should be private, and you will define getters and setters, private, age, and after that you should have getters and setters. So we'll say public function get name, public function get name, return this name just to be clear, this name, and we have to have a setter, public function set name, we accept name as a parameter, and we say this name equals name, and so on and so forth. We continue with age, and voila, we will have a entity get age is age set age, but this is another story. We can continue in this direction. Okay, this is another story. I can build very easy based on a very easy object relational mapping and connection to the database. So we abstract this communication, and in our actions, actually, this is what we are gonna do. As I said, probably I'll go to index controller again, and let's say here we want to communicate with the database for some reason. I can create a new user data mapper, of course I have to create, and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna go deep into this rabbit hole right now. If the people are interested, I could do this as well. User equals new user, like that, and after that, based on what the guys have sent here, you can extract data from the database, hydrate this object, or do whatever you like. It's up to you. Okay, so this is if we decide to create a new user, and after that with a data mapper we can save it. But as you can see, we have a perfect separation of concern, even though we are not finishing everything. Controllers, here we go. We can have, and we should have, a service layer. In other words, we should have here a folder called services. So all the logic is here in the services classes and the controller. Just we can have a dependency injection container and all this kind of stuff, but this is a very good beginning, something very interesting to work with. Okay, um, let me look at another folder. Just what is that? Index model. Let me look at this function. Index model, extends model. Business logic is here, whatever. Let me see if I have something else here to show. Index controllers, whatever. So that's in my notes. I show it to you a lot of not a lot of stuff, but a good starting point, how to separate your application on different layers, which I even put in the different folders. As I said, index should go in the public folder, so these folders are not exposed, they cannot be accessed, but it's a very good beginning. User not found, yeah, of course. In index I have to add here, again, I don't have autoloader, but even without autoloader, as you can see, everything works. And here you have models, user. Now it's gonna work. It's so easy to work with. Okay, guys. Index, if there is no such action, probably let's say I have another action which is called create. Right now I expect to get errors, call undefined method index create. Of course we have to use a little bit reflection here just to make sure that the action exists. It doesn't exist. We can throw and catch. We can use throw, try, catch construction, and we will have error handler and so on and so forth, but basically that's it. It works. This is the beginning. Okay, and again, hello. You see how I'm calling a different controller now and different action. Index, let me see what happens. Index has been called. Okay, that's it folks for now. Have fun. Thank you for watching that.